Thank you, guys. You know, I was sitting there and sitting here all morning listening to what you guys are doing. I mean, you're amazing. You are trying to convince and influence people to work better, to be faster, smarter, to get to those objectives in a much more efficient way. And of course, what does that mean? That means that even though you know what's needed, you have to influence those around you. So let's talk influence. We're here right now to look at a few different ideas on how you can influence those around you. Now, the good news is there are 6 completely separate keys to influencing people around you, and very happily for us, they spell out the word brains. B-R-A-I-N and S. Each of these 6 keys to influence applies to a very different psychological type of person. The people we know, the people we work with, your job throughout all of this is to always try and figure out what is the type of person in front of me and how can I apply the right framework of influence to that particular person. So, brains of influence, let's go. First up, the human brain. We've all seen that before. That's good. Let's move on. The B in brains of influence stands for bridging. What is bridging? Well, it's for the very socially minded individual. This is the person who's all about the connections. They're constantly on LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter or whatever social media they really go for. They're always wondering what other people are doing. They are very influenced by the actions of others. If someone else down the street is doing it, then maybe I should do it too. This is the bridge you're trying to cross and you're trying to create. And it's based on what I call the jealousy effect, also known as social proof, herd mentality, if you will. And social proof, or the jealousy effect, it starts in childhood. Let me ask you a question. How many people here have got kids? A lot of you. How many people have seen a child? Everyone. Okay, that's good, that's good. That's all we need for this bit. Let's imagine there's a couple of kids right now, and they're playing on this floor right here, a bit unsafe because of the drop, but don't worry about that. They're playing on the floor with a bunch of toys. 2 young kids, maybe they're 3 or 4 years old. Everything's going very well until one moment, one of the kids sees a toy over there, and it's a little red truck. So the kid goes over to the little red truck, plonks herself down, starts playing with it, and decides it's a very good toy. What fantastic news for the remaining child, because he's here with all of the toys to play with and no one getting in his way. What does this child do next? Absolutely right, because he's seen someone just like himself who's enjoying the benefit and the value of a little red truck, and now he's jealous and he wants some of that sweet, sweet action. So what happens? He goes over to the truck and he starts trying to play with it as well. And then they're fighting. And then you, as the responsible adult in the room, you have to get involved. You take the truck away, and then everyone is crying. We've all been there. This is where the jealousy effect begins. When you see or hear or discover that somebody else is enjoying the benefit and value of something that you've not yet touched, you've not yet experienced. So how do we use this? How do we use this very important key to influence for the person who's very socially minded, who has FOMO, fear of missing out, who hears this news? Well, I'll tell you what we do with it. We tell stories. As you go through your process of encouraging more and more people to join you on this journey of transformation, and as we heard this morning, it's much more than just technical transformation. You have to bring people with you. And to do that, you have to speak to them in their language. Now, with someone who's influenced easily by the actions of others, that FOMO, jealousy effect moment, you have to tell the story about how they are already enjoying the benefit and the value. A great example of this working in the real world, by the way, comes out of the UK, and it's our version of the IRS. It's called the Inland Revenue, also known as Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. In other words, the tax people. They had noticed through some pretty sharp analytics back in the day that a lot of self-employed people were paying their taxes quite late. And they didn't like this. Of course not. They want the cash right now. So what did they do? Well, they put out an ad campaign to stop this late payment of taxes in the UK. And the ad campaign went a little something like this. Did you know that 10% of British citizens are paying their taxes late? This cannot be allowed to continue. If you pay your taxes late, we cannot provide all the essential public services that you demand. So, pay your taxes on time or else. So the campaign went out, and it was in all media that was available in those days. I want you to have a guess in a minute what the impact of that campaign was. Year dot, 10% paid late. Would anyone care to guess what happened a year later? Yeah, you guys are so smart. That's right, 20% of people paid late. Why? Because they heard this message and they were washing up, they went, wait, what? You can pay your taxes late? I never knew that. And somebody else is enjoying the benefit and the value of late tax payment? Well, I want some of that sweet, sweet action as well. Find a way to tell the story to those who you are trying to influence about the incredible benefits of working using the SAFE framework. Because there are benefits. People are already enjoying those benefits. Just tell the story. There are brands out there who try to influence us with this, I guess, this social proof, this jealousy effect mentality. And one of the obvious ones are these guys, Facebook. They're still there. They're still hacking away. Meta now, I suppose they're called. But what are they saying to you? They're going, well, your friend John reads the New York Times every day. Maybe you should. Your friend Sally still mysteriously plays Candy Crush all these years later. Maybe you should. That's what they do. Amazon's the same thing. You know, at the end of an Amazon transaction, you buy the thing you need because you just broke it in the kitchen. And at the moment you go, buy, order, it's done. Suddenly, another window pops up and it says, did you know people just like you also buy all this crap? And you're like, really? Click, 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 I can't miss out. So that's B, that's bridging. If you're following along, the next one starts with an R, and the R stands for rationalizing. Now, a very different type of person is involved with the rational mindset. Who are the rational thinkers? Well, these aren't the people who are influenced by FOMO and the jealousy effect and colorful stories. No, they are the thinkers. They are intellectual. They're all about the numbers and the facts. They want to know, Jean-Luc Picard, by the way, my hero, Chris's hero as well, for obvious reasons. They simply want to know, does 1 and 1 equal 2? Just show me, I don't want to hear the sell. Just show me the facts. Actually, what the rational thinker is really looking for is for someone to solve their problems. That's what they're after. They don't want to hear the sell. They just want to know, look, we have this issue right now with our supply chain, with delivery, with customer centricity. We're nowhere near where we're meant to be. And you come in with SAFE framework and you go, look, here's the facts on the ground. If we apply this methodology, this framework, we're going to be much better on customer centricity. We're going to be faster on our deliveries. We're going to have more time. We're actually going to cut overheads. That's it. You've solved my problems. Try it out. Let's find it. Let's find a minimal viable product and we'll try it. Right? All you've had to do is satisfy their need for you to solve their problems. And again, there are brands out there who influence us using this exact approach. My favorite one, going back in time a bit, is these guys, Apple. When Apple really started to ramp up the production of their hardware, their colorful, new, exciting MacBooks and Mac Pros and iMacs, they knew we had a problem. What was our problem? Well, back in those days, we were all working with old laptops. I mean, a little newer than the digital ones, Chris, right? They're a little more advanced than that. But still, those laptops, they weren't doing the job properly. It wasn't working. It was a problem. You would open up the laptop, you press on. It would start making a lot of noise like a toilet. You'd come back in a week or so, and it was kind of ready to do something. That was not working. So what does Apple do? They produce all the new hardware, and they put a tagline on it. And what's the tagline? Remember? Anyone remember this? It just works. It just works. Can you imagine the marketing team going, right, we've got a great plan, everyone. We're just going to tell them it works. How's that? But it was perfect. Why? Because our stuff wasn't working. We were not happy with the tech we had. Their stuff works. So rationally speaking, if ours is broken and theirs works, rationally speaking, we should buy it. And buy it we did in huge amounts. Imagine if Samsung tried to sell us their beautiful television sets using that same tagline. This new amazing curved QLED screen, 55 inches. It's so amazing. The definition is phenomenal. And guess what? It also just works. Again, no interest because our TVs already work. So there's a point here. It's about applying the right message to the right person at the right time and understanding who that person is. Is the person in front of you all socially connected and fascinated in what everyone else is doing? Great, that's a B, there's a bridge. Are they all about the numbers and the facts on the ground? There's an R, rational. Next up, and this is a dangerous one, asserting. Asserting is a form of influence, but there is a very thin and fine line between being assertive and being aggressive. Now, of course, you never want to be aggressive, do you? That's a terrible thing to be. People get very easily offended if they think they're being bossed around. But think of it this way. There is a time where people need to be advised. There's a time where people need to be guided. And there's a time when they need a push. That's the assertive moment. By the way, top slide deck tip, always try and get a picture of a puppy in your slide deck because people will just like you more for it. So hold on, what do we do with this then? Well, there is a rule when you can actually be assertive, because it is not every day and it's not every opportunity, of course not. But there is a very hard and fast rule, and the rule is simply this. You may be assertive when it is in the interests of the person who's right in front of you and where there is some type of urgency, ultimatum, or time limit. That is the rule about being assertive. What do I mean by that? Well, it's all about understanding that if someone fails to act and you can actually get them to act, the end result will be very beneficial for them. And it becomes even more powerful, believe it or not, if the net result is avoiding a terrible outcome versus embracing and enjoying a wonderful outcome. They've done psychological studies on this. People are far more influenced by the worry of a loss than they are by the excitement of a gain. So if you see something coming down the track where the company, your organization, is going to suffer because action isn't being taken now, guess what? You actually have the green light to be assertive. At that moment, you can say, look, I don't want to get too offensive here, but if we don't act now, this terrible thing's going to happen, and I have an idea how we can avoid it. That assertive moment is really important. And there are brands out there, once again, who are very assertive with us. There's one particular brand, these guys, Nike. Look at that. Just do it. I mean, that's almost rude, isn't it? How can you imagine if your boss came into you and say, hey, by the way, that safe thing you were talking about, just do it. You'd be like, I'm leaving this company, I'm out. I can't work for you with an attitude like that. How does Nike have the right to talk to us like that? Well, it's really easy. Because they're saying to us, theoretically, why don't you get off the couch, put on a pair of our shorts, put on a pair of our shoes, and go for a run, you big lump. Why? Because you'll get fitter, you will live longer, you'll grow your immunity, you'll lose some weight. It's all good, 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 right? They've gone for the positive destination, but that's fine. They have the right to talk to us that way because it's in our best interests. So there's a time, there's a place, and you have to be really careful about it. But I'm going to come on to it a bit later on. If you really are a specialist in this, and I have a feeling you are, you have the right to point out to people when danger lies ahead. You have the right to sometimes not take no for an answer. Talking of which, I'll tell you a very brief story. So in this role of being an event host, I'll often do events with amazing customers and partners, and sometimes staff or team events. I was doing a team event for a software company, and they had their top-selling salespeople on the stage. There was 4 of them. They all had an amazing story to tell. I'm on the stage with them, and I just let them each tell their story. And one of them, Genevieve Flynn, I'll never remember her name, very young in the software business. And she said, I almost lost the deal, but something happened on a specific day, and it led to the biggest deal of my life, and it remains the biggest deal I've ever won. And she told the story. And she said she'd been working for a whole year, due diligence, planning, meetings, demos, slide decks, everything with a potential new client for this particular software solution. And right at the end, On decision day, the client calls Genevieve and says, Genevieve, I'm so sorry. I think you're great. We've loved being with you, working with you, but we're going with a competitor. And she says, why? And he goes, we just can't get the budget together. We can't. And we think, honestly, it's roughly going to do the same thing for us. So we're going with a competitor. We're so sorry. Let's stay in touch. At that moment, Genevieve did something that was incredibly assertive, but also reframed who she was to that company. She literally, and she said on the stage, I don't know where it came from, on the phone, she goes, I cannot let you do that. She's a 26-year-old salesperson and pretty much her first gig. This guy's running a multi-million-dollar budget. I cannot let you do that. And she explained why. She goes, because if you do that, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. You're going to end up having so many more redos, refits. The costs are going to increase. As your friend, as your colleague, I cannot let you do that. But actually, it wasn't a friend or a colleague at that moment. You know what happened at that moment? By being assertive, she became the trusted advisor to that person. That executive went away, had more meetings, came back. You know how this ends. He says, you know what, Genevieve, you're right. We're coming to you. Deal done. I mean, it's dangerous to be that assertive. It doesn't always work, but there are moments, and that was one of them. Next up, this is I in the brains of influence, and this is my favorite. I stands for inspiring. What is inspiring? Well, it's about creating the image of what all of this work will do at the end. I call it destination theory. It is not about the journey to inspire someone. It is about the destination. It's not about the process to inspire someone. It is about the outcome. And I've learned in a very short space of time how incredible the outcomes are when this SAFE framework is rolled out properly, when the teams work, when you're pivoting quickly, when you're relentlessly testing and retesting. The results are so strong that this inspiring piece is just, it's a no-brainer because the destination is great. The outcome is outstanding. But are you telling the story? Now, who's the person, who's the psychological type that needs to hear this? It's, I guess, really a level that doesn't normally understand what all this means at first. You need to sell them on the destination. If we do all of this, and I'll give you the details later, we're going to save money, we're going to be able to bring in new people, we're going to be able to do this, that, and the other, all these lovely advantages. You just talk about the destination and not the journey. If you befuddle them with every single detail of the process, and they're not the right type of person to listen to that, you've lost them, right? So you have to inspire them with the destination. I'll give you some examples of destination theory. When most people go out to buy a drill, that is not the destination. That simply is the tool to create the process to get to the destination. What's the destination for a drill? Well, that's an easy one. It's a hole in the wall. There you go. That's when I have a go at DIY. Hold on, so just this. A hole in the wall. That's your destination. Actually, if we're being really deep, the destination is the mirror you're going to put on the wall or the beautiful piece of art you've just bought, whatever it might be. The drill is not the big moment here. The drill is just the tool. People aren't typically going into Home Depot, B&Q for my British friends, and saying, oh, I love this drill. Look at the torque power on it. I can't wait to see all the dust going down onto the floor and never getting vacuumed up. That's not what really sells the drill. It's all about the destination. And of course, there are brands out there who never stop influencing us with destination theory, outcome over process. One of them, the fitness companies. They're always showing you pictures like that. Do you want your abs to look like that in the end? Yes, I do. It's never going to happen. I mean, just look at me. Right, but I see that. I think, I do want that. I do want to look like that. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to pay that gym a monthly subscription. I'm never going to go, but I'm going to pay the money because that's my end goal. This is destination theory right there. Who else does this to us? When it's cold and wintry where you live, when the rain's pouring down, it's after all the holidays, it's January, it's miserable, boom! They start showing us pictures like this. That's right, families on holiday. They're swimming with stingrays, they're smiling, they're laughing, they're having ice creams and cocktails and all of it's included. What they don't show you is the journey, only the destination, happy family in the sunshine. They don't show you the fact that this poor family never got their luggage when they arrived, just never showed up. Or the fact that their flight was both delayed and cancelled. Nope, we don't mention that. And the fact that the line for security was over an hour long. They just don't mention all of that stuff because no one's buying that. We're buying the destination. Again, you influence people by their personality type. This is for the person who's very creative, who wants to create moments for the organization, doesn't really care about all the minutiae, but tell me how it ends. By the way, I'd like to just pause for a moment. This picture is one of those free stock photos you can get off the internet. And I'm prepared to bet right now that this is in no way real. And I'll go one stage further. If you're ever on a cruise ship and you see a family doing this, that ship's going down. They heard something. That's a goodbye. Listen, guys, it was great. Good luck. That's inspiring. For those of you keeping track, we now arrive at the N, negotiating. Now, you might immediately think, oh, it's about money, right? How can we save money? How can we cut costs? How can we do a deal? Actually, no. It's a little bit more psychological than that. Negotiating, when I talk about it in this context, is actually pre-negotiating. It's about understanding the person in front of you so deeply that you know precisely what their pushback is going to be to your idea, to your concept. You're trying to sell working better, and they're going to go, well, hold on a minute, we've changed in the past and it didn't work then, so we're not going to change now. You know what the pushback's going to be from certain people. Why? Because you observe them. You understand what drives them. You know who they are. Pre-negotiating is about being really brave, because it's not just about understanding what the pushback might be, but it's about you raising it first and dealing with it and then just moving on. When you do that, you're actually saying, this is how much I understand you. This is how close I am to your frame of thinking. And this is what I think we should do to resolve the situation that you've not even mentioned yet, but I know you're thinking about. Part of the framework is about understanding the business objective, right? It is about that moment. Every time you show that you understand the challenges that the business might see ahead, you win huge points. I'll give you an example of how I pre-negotiated, but in a slightly different context, back in my days in television. I mentioned this morning I was on television, nobody ever watched, but that's okay. For a short while, as part of my development in the TV industry, I worked for a channel in the UK called GMTV. GMTV was the equivalent of, here in the US, I guess, Good Morning America, but with far fewer people watching. But it was an amazing education because they threw me in at the deep end. They went, Mark, we're not putting you on screen yet. Yes, we know you've been on, but we want you to learn the ropes. You're going to produce. You're going to direct. You're going to do all this other stuff before we let you go on the brightly lit sofa. So every single day, as part of what was known as the features production team, we had a job. Each producer had to go out with a film crew and create about 5 minutes of very watchable television. They called it a VT package. Here's how it worked. They go, all right, we're going to do a story on the increasing traffic in London. Get out there, get shots of traffic, interview people on the street. I hated doing man-on-the-street interviews. Worst job in the world in television. Special message there for Eric. And then what you want to do at that point is come back to the studios with all of your footage and start editing. Put a music track under it, get some infographics going, create a beautiful 5-minute finished package. And that was my job. So I'd schlep out with the crew. It'd be pouring with rain because it was London. We'd get all these nice shots, cars, traffic, people complaining about the traffic on the camera. And then we would come back to the edit. We'll get lots of fun facts, put them in an infographic, do it all. It would take hours. It was by now probably 4 or 5 p.m. We'd started at 8. And finally, the senior producer from the production side would come in to see the video before it would be greenlit and it would go on air the next morning. He would come into the edit suite, he'd cross his arms, and he'd go on. He looked bored before we'd even started. We pressed play, he watched it. No, he goes, no, take that shot out, don't like that. And it was a shot we loved. It was a great moment. We were so proud of it. We're like, oh, come on. But he's a senior producer. What are we going to do, argue? No. So we took the shot out, and we were left with a piece we weren't even that happy with, and it went to air. Until one day, I woke up in the morning, and I realized what was going on. This senior producer was just doing something for the sake of doing something. He had to remove a shot every single time. It was like a weird internal rule. So me and the editor colluded, and we decided, let's come up with something here. We decided to insert an absolutely awful shot quite early in the video. So the theory was, if he sees it, he's going to remove that, and we're all, so he comes in, crosses his arms, go on, press play, we press play, 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 awful shot, play, play, stop, he goes, stop, take that shot out. We're like, no problem. We took the shot out, we got the video we wanted, he was happy because he had taken a shot out, job done. All I was achieving there was understanding what drove this person, understanding what he was going to ask for, and deliver it before he asked for it. That was it. And we can do this in business. Pre-negotiation. Hand it to them on a tray if necessary. They will be very happy with you. Downton Abbey reference. All right. Brain is done. We've only got one left, and it's S for specializing. And this is the good news for everyone in this room. Why? Because you are specialists. What is a specialist? A specialist, theoretically, is someone who knows more than somebody else. A specialist is someone who's seen it before, who's done it before, who's been there before. And we feel great trust when we see a specialist. Let's say you go to a doctor. You go, doctor, there's this weird brown spot on my hand. What is this? And the doctor goes, I got no idea what the hell that is. Why don't you go and see a specialist? So you go to the specialist, and the specialist goes, oh, it's nothing, put some cream on it, you'll be fine. You're like, oh, thank goodness, because the specialist knows more, theoretically. What do you do with this? You are the specialists, but don't be afraid to tell people about it. I'm not saying brag. I'm not saying boast or be arrogant, quite the opposite. But make sure you telegraph the fact that you have been there before. You have seen this play out. You've seen and heard the stories of how this framework produces this result, and my goodness, you'll stand by it. When people see what a specialist you are, when they see how expert you are in a very specific area, they trust you. And where there's trust, there's buyability. But you really have to get that message across that you've seen it over and over again. I want to show you a quick video that was put out as an advert for a company, and I think really does kind of illustrate this very well. Let's see if we can just go forward and forward. Here we go.
I know this guy. I've talked to him on the phone. He knows his stuff.
Maggie, Jeff. So nice to finally put faces to the names. Woo! You guys got the key?
No.
No. No worries. Chill. It's probably around here somewhere. Probably under like a fake rock or something like that. Let's spread out and look around. You go that way, you come with me. I feel like you have better eyes.
We've done this a million times. That's the message. If they've done it a million times, they must know what they're doing by now. They have just put themselves into the role of specialist. And that's what we need to do in this industry. Don't be shy. Be proud of it. By the way, every specialist I've ever met, everyone who just gives me that sense of confidence, has three elements to all their communication. I call it the 3 C's: consistency, clarity, and confidence. Consistency. What do I mean by this? Well, your framework is kind of perfect. Because if you look at the flows we were looking at on the screens this morning, the flow is always consistent. You are following a path. You've charted a course. Sure, you'll pivot, you'll change, you'll adjust. But the consistency is always there. Be that person in your communication. Be consistent with the message you're handing out to other people. You're not flipping and flopping. You're always consistent. Clarity. What is the #1 test of how clear you are? I'll tell you, that was a rhetorical question. When you've shared an idea with someone or a group of people, and you leave the room, they should be able to repeat back exactly what you said. Not in your words, by the way, in their own. What does that mean? It means they understood you. It means they got it. And most importantly, it means you spoke in their language. Be the translators as you go through life. That way you guarantee yourself clarity. And if you're clear, you're memorable, you're buyable, all the good stuff comes with clarity. And finally, confidence. Well, I don't need to tell you to be confident, but people always sniff out that moment when you're not sure. So will this framework result in us being able to save some money? I don't think so. No. Be confident with whatever you're saying, because people buy confidence. And in the end, that's really what all of us are doing. We're making ourselves and our ideas and this message even more viable. The brains. Bridging, rationalizing, asserting, inspiring, my favorite, pre-negotiating, and specializing. And that is the brains of influence. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now, I switch back into the role of moderator. That guy was great, wasn't he? One of the best speakers I've seen. I would double his fee, whatever it is. All right, so now, basically, close the session. I'm giving you back the gift of time. But before you head out, two things. Number one, enjoy tonight. I know you've got all your own decisions to make for tonight. Tomorrow morning, we're starting early. And it is a prompt start at exactly 8 a.m., I believe. It's a very packed morning, but we have two incredible customer stories on this stage. You don't want to miss a moment of that. So don't forget tomorrow morning's start. And one final thing before we turn the lights on and release you. If you are a scaled Agile team member, employee, could you guys stay in the room? We're doing a team photo, and Chris is going to take over. For everyone else, you are free. Enjoy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.